what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk Podcast. Patriots take care of business in the AFC Divisional Playoffs, wiping out the Houston Texans 28-16 in a game in which the Houston Texans defense was everything they were advertised to be, and C.J. Stroud was 9 times worse than he was on Monday night against the Steelers. Phil Perry alongside. Phil, let me just play a little sound from Mike Vrabel, because I don't think these Patriots are satisfied now.
Everybody's stepping up. We're using everybody. Everybody's making plays. Everybody's helping us win. I'm excited for these guys, but they're also they're not satisfied, and I can tell that.
All right, Phil, Patriots defense harassed and overwhelmed the depleted offense of the Houston Texans. I'm not going to say we saw how this was going to go, but I had 23-13. I did not think that Houston's offense was going to be good enough. I did not think that C.J. Stroud would be as complicit as he was, but I'm not. And I thought that Drake Maye would take better care of the ball. But I'm not the least bit surprised at this outcome. You?
No, I'm not surprised either. I had the Patriots winning 2017. They were able to score a defensive touchdown, which I didn't anticipate.
No, you can't.
But that was about the kind of game I thought would occur. Now, did I think there'd be 8 total turnovers? And that the Texans would have 5? And that Drake Maye would fumble 4 times? No, I didn't see that coming. I think the conditions had something to do with that, but just an incredibly sloppy across-the-board postseason game. But in some ways, if you're Mike Vrabel, you're looking at it, and you are appreciative of the fact that, number one, you're able to overcome those mistakes, and now you're moving on to an AFC Championship game. And number two, you got contributions really from everybody, it felt like, across the board. Offensively, defensively, role players, even Drake Maye, after all of those fumbles, ends up making an incredible throw down the field for an even better catch for Kayshon Boutte to help put the game away.
I think this is the NFL in 2025. Not saying it's going to be this way in 2027. Maybe it wasn't this way in 2022. But the cycle of the NFL right now is at a small dip with a resurgence going on for the teams that are playing in the divisional playoffs this weekend. We don't know what the outcome is yet in Chicago, but you have a second-year quarterback in Caleb Williams. Seems pretty good. Drake Maye seems pretty good. Bo Nix, his team, is not going to be playing next week, as you know, but they were playing to get to the AFC Championship as well, or will be his team. So I think that right now you're seeing a lower bar in the AFC, and as a result, you can win a game being that sloppy because you might be able to go up against a team that has similar challenges. Not to say that Drake Maye, again, I don't care. I mean, you guys get mad if you want to get mad. I know what my intentions are. If you put all the different things that Drake Maye and graded them out on things, ball security would be an F. An F. And going in knowing that he had to take care of the ball and not doing so, that's bad. Guts, resilience, physicality, throws, a lot of those are B or above, but it's an F for ball security, and I think that he has to get better at that. But before we do that, Patriots defense absolutely harassed and overwhelmed. They're the story of the day, not Drake Maye's ball handling, because they were fixtures in taking care of business against the Houston Texans offense. Here's Mike Vrabel.
They're playing well together. You know, I feel like they're complementing each other, and our turnovers are created by more than one guy. You know, there's some great efforts, but, you know, it's somebody tipping a pass or it's somebody that's putting pressure that's usually helping that dude, you know what I mean, or Zach's, you know, dialing something up that kind of changes the look, and, you know, we're taking advantage of, you know, our opportunities. Our guys are prideful men, and, you know, they want to compete and they want to win, and, again, they deserve the recognition that they're going to get. I mean, they're top 5 defense for a reason as well, and so – again, that's how some of these things go. It comes down to turnovers, and we've got them in. You know, get back on track. We force second and long, so we stop the run, and I'm proud of each and every guy in there.
Phil, I want you to look for a second with me at the offseason additions that they made defensively in particular. Doesn't matter whether it's draft or free agency, and what Zach Kerr has done over the last 2 weeks in terms of seeing something working and then saying, how about some more of that?
I think it was a really interesting defensive game plan because, boy, C.J. Stroud, mistake after mistake after mistake, and he is the kind of guy, we talked about this all week, really poor under pressure this year. Meaning, if you can get into his space, he turns into one of the 5 worst quarterbacks in football. And that's what we saw earlier today. I thought the interesting part about this was they really did throw a lot at him in terms of pressure packages. Mm-hmm. They threw all sorts of different blitz looks at him. They did blitz at times. Sometimes they dropped out of it. They actually blitzed him more than I thought they would because, generally speaking, over the course of this year, he's been pretty good against the blitz. He's been able to get the ball out and get completions and move the chains. And it was getting pressure on him without blitzing that I thought would be the key. They kind of did it every which way. They got pressure on him when they blitzed. Sometimes they didn't, and he ended up hurting him for it. The touchdown throw that he made to Christian Kirk, there was an all-out blitz there. When they had stopped them just earlier in the red zone by rushing 3 and dropping 8. So it was like they were going to, you said turn up the dial. It was like the dial never stopped spinning in terms of the types of calls that they threw at him. And obviously, it ended up working because he was so confused.
Would they have done the same thing if Nico Collins and Dalton were out there? Dalton
Schultz.
And
Trent Brown was out too. So they were dealing with issues on the offensive line. It already coming into the game was just not a good offensive line. It's a good question. They might not have, because somebody like Nico Collins, even if you have Christian Gonzalez on him, is the kind of player you'd probably rather have, a safety over the top somewhere. So maybe some of those all-out blitzes you wouldn't have seen. But I think changing up the looks and getting him to think and getting him to hold on to the ball and that allowing your pressure to get home and that forcing him into those brain-melting out-your-ears types of mistakes, I think that was the plan. And obviously it worked.
When I talk about this is just the NFL, this is just the AFC this year. Same thing happens in the draft. C.J. Stroud was the 2nd overall pick a couple years ago. And when he was, who went first that year? Excuse me. Bryce Young. But the 3rd overall pick right now from last year is Drake Maye. You saw the limitations that class's 2nd overall pick had. He's not as strong, so he can't move Kayvon Chase on out of the way when he's about to sack him. He's not as fast, so he can't run away from him. He doesn't have the same arm strength. So there is so much year to year that you benefit from. C.J. Stroud is going to put the Texans in a situation that the Miami Dolphins were with Tua, that Jacksonville was with Trevor Lawrence. It's working out okay for them this year. But all these teams, Jalen Hurts, on and on and on, where you have a mediocre to maybe pretty good quarterback who you have to really squint hard and say, we can win a title with him, or you have a guy who seems like the coin of the realm, and that would be a Maye type or a Williams type or maybe a Jaden Daniels type, although he's more slight. That worries me about him. All that said, I want to get back to the personnel, because this was really a great opportunity to look at the Patriots free agent class and the guys that they bought in March and April and said, Milton Williams, we will not be outbid. We already lost out on Chris Godwin. We already lost out on Ronnie Stanley. My God, we don't even know what we're going to do at receiver, but we cannot lose out on Milton Williams. So it's Milton Williams. It's Robert Spillane. It's Harold Landry. It's Morgan Moses, who was key in the final 10 minutes or so with the drive downfield. It's on the back end. Help me out. Carlton Davis with 2 picks.
Sure.
They hit on so many guys, Phil, and they gave leadership roles to so many of these guys. And they fumigated the locker room defensively of so many guys. Your Dietrich Wise, your Jonathan Jones, your Jawan Bentleys. I mean, think of how much turnover they did. They went out and bought a defense that's probably right now what's going to get them to Santa Clara if they get there.
Agreed. And it's how they've gotten to this point through the wild card round. In the divisional round has been their defense especially, but you're right on the free agent hits. It's so rare, I think, to see that many. I mean, we could think back. You don't have to go all that far back in the archives to think about that 2021 free agent class where the Patriots spent a lot of dough. And it was like a 50-50 sort of hit rate, it felt like.
It's
right?
some Nelson Aguilars. You had some...
For every Nelson Aguilar you had
Hunter Henry.
A Hunter Henry. But then you also had a Jonnu Smith. But then you had a Matthew Judon. So it was like it was a flip of the coin. This offseason, it feels like they hit on just about every guy. Even Kairos Tonga, who felt like almost an afterthought. Right? He comes up with a sack tonight, and he's able to have such an impact over the course of the year. Mac Hollins ends up being, it felt like before he got hurt, one of their most dependable offensive players. Morgan Moses playing through injury.
I didn't mention Diggs.
Stephon Diggs, obviously, everything that he's done. What a phenomenal touchdown catch that he had in that game against the Texans, and just how strong his hands were in that moment. But I think it helps in that a lot of the guys they signed, Tom, they did know. Someone on the staff knew them, whether it was Vrabel having coached them before, or Todd Downing, or Josh McDaniels, or Thomas Brown, and
Terrell Williams.
Terrell Williams,
with Carlton Davis.
Yep, exactly. So I think, you weren't purchasing their skill sets and their services sight unseen, which I think is the case a lot of times in free agency. You see a guy from afar. Oh, I remember him from the draft 4 years ago or 7 years ago. Let's take another run at him, and sometimes that doesn't end up working out.
What a fantastic job with collaboration that Vrabel kind of must have spawned when he came in, because we don't know what it looks like. I don't know if Elliot Wolf is the point man on these calls, laying out the program, or if it's Ryan Cowden, or if Mike is leading it. We don't know, but clearly, with all the different players who came with recommendations, McDaniels was Spillane from the Raiders, the guys that Vrabel brought with him and Cowden would have brought with him, like Jack Gibbons, and it's really fascinating. Everybody's got as you pointed out earlier, everyone's got a piece of a win like this. Everyone has a piece of this season all the way across. Meanwhile, Texans defense, as I mentioned, was as advertised.
We talk about not going in the blender, and I think it's hard. I mean, they put pressure on us, and we know we got to take care of the ball. Drake knows that. But to be able to stay the course and to trust Kayshawn and give him a great ball that, it was him or nobody, and those guys have kind of done that all year. Is when we needed to play, they've been able to do that for us.
What did you think of the offense in general, not Maye specifically yet?
It was tough sledding. I mean, they are as good as we thought they were, Houston, and specifically up front. Those defensive backs fly around. Those linebackers made it really hard. I thought their game plan initially was not obvious, but it did feel as though they really were trying hard to put some doubt into the minds of their pass rush. First play of the game was a draw play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you watch that, it's a run play that goes for nothing, but it's a lead draw. So Jack Westover's leading up the middle. If you watch the offensive lineman, though, it looks like they're blocking pass, and it goes for nothing. But those draw plays, screens, none of them, it felt like, really worked all that much. But the objective was clear. We need to allow those pass rushers to understand we're not just going to drop back every time we need to put in the air. Unfortunately for them, because those types of plays didn't work, oftentimes they were in 3rd and 10, and they had to drop back. And that's where you find yourself into trouble, getting into trouble, and getting your quarterback hit and maybe seeing the ball come out of his hand. So the initial plan made sense. It just didn't work out all that great for him.
I said all week long they'll go to 6 offensive linemen. They did plenty, and they had success running, definitely. And I don't know how many times they threw out of it, but I said all week with Will Campbell, he was going to have some bad plays, but I don't think that Josh McDaniels is wet behind the ears and hasn't seen this movie before. He's seen excellent fronts. He's seen excellent edge rushers. Still, Will McDonald did have one-on-one opportunities with Will Campbell.
Will Anderson. Will McDonald's a great pass rusher himself, but he plays for the Jets.
Plays for the Jets now. Plays for Seattle.
That's a Jimmy Williams.
It's a Jimmy
joke
Williams
for anybody out there.
Somebody asked him about Ichiro back in like 1999. He says Boston right here. He plays for Seattle. You're going to ask Seattle about him. So listen, Josh did not spend resources all the time to buttress the area around Will Campbell, and Will McDonald did get home. Did I do it again?
Did it again.
Will Anderson plays for Seattle. But when we saw, it was interesting because there were plays, we talked about it in the postgame, they didn't alter their throwing style very much. Drake Maye was still looking to drive the green from, He was still looking to be on in 2 from 250.
Well, you know what? I think that was probably part of the plan too, because you and I talked about how leading into the game, the Texans, where they might be weakest or softest defensively is down the field because they are so aggressive and they're so fast. And the stuff in the short to intermediate area, they are just so on top of so quickly, it makes it really hard to find anything consistently there. And so they were in this weird conundrum, which is part of the reason why the Texans are so damn good and they're near the top of the league at every statistical, easy for me to say, category, is you have to be able to execute two things that are really hard to execute simultaneously, which is get the ball out of your hands quickly, but push it down the field. Usually you need time to be able to push it down the field. And the throws that they did hit down the field, and there were a couple even that they were close to hitting but couldn't to Kyle Williams, these were, ball was out within, it felt like 2 seconds and maybe even less between the time it was snapped and the time that Drake Maye had it in his hands. But they were 20-plus yard, 30-plus yard shots down the field. That's, I think, why the Texans are so difficult to go up against. Yeah, that's where you can find some openings, but good luck because it's got to be really, really quick.
Like, I wonder what he was looking at, Maye, when he was strip sacked. When Anderson, I rolled through, we got Will McDonald in my head, we got Will Anderson in my head, we got Will Smith in my head, we got Will Campbell in my head. Will Rogers, Will Robinson, of course, from Lost in Space.
Yeah, sure.
I wondered what Maye's goal was when he did hold it too long. It was a couple double pumps. When he double pumped, he got hit. Here is Drake Maye, and let me just give you his numbers real quick. You guys probably know him, but if you don't, what the hell? That's what I'm here for. I got time. 16 for 27 for 179, 5 sacks, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 13 fumbles. No, how many fumbles? 4 fumbles, lost 2 of them. Patriots ended up on third down. My favorite website, NFL Jesus. 3 for 14. One of those conversions on third down was a 3rd and 4 throw to Kayshon Boutte. Here's Drake Maye talking about sports.
Yeah, I think not satisfied means we're back on the road. Back on the road in the AFC Championship game. I mean, that kind of speaks for itself. So I'm just trying to, enjoy these playoff wins. I think in the regular season when you come up with wins, you feel like you can play better. You kind of have this, down mentality and just know that we made enough plays tonight. Obviously, I wish I had some plays back, but that's part of it. That's part of playing good teams in the playoffs.
Phil, Drake Maye specifically, talk on it. But first, before you do, when he said we're back on the road on 2 different occasions during his post game, I know, and from what he has said earlier this season, I know that the talking point for this team will be, we like being on the road. Do you know this team is now 16-3?
It's incredible.
Okay.
I mean, it really is.
They're 18-4 if you include preseason.
Good for them. Why not?
Why they
Throw
take
it
the
in there.
field?
I bet, and this is what I thought you were going to say, I bet Mike Vrabel has already told them that they're road warriors and in some way, reminded them that they are undefeated on the road this year. He does not seem to me to be at all Belichickian in terms of let's have a healthy fear of the opponent before we really get close to the game. Right? Didn't it always feel like when Bill was breaking down the locker room, hey, if you play like that, after this game in particular, if Bill Belichick had been the head coach, and I don't know, obviously, but he's done things like this in the past. Hey, you play like that, we're going to be going, nobody here is going to sniff Santa Clara and walk out.
Yep. I think that he was cognizant of the team, though, and what they were up against. So in this instance, maybe he would. I bet he would say something to that effect. But he might also say, like with that 01 Patriots team, he wanted them to not be afraid of. I just don't think this team's afraid of shit.
I don't think they are either.
I think they're very veteran. I don't think that they doubt their own abilities. Maybe it's like your generation, these, social media. It's like,
careful now.
I mean, just the amount of self-esteem that you people seem to have. For God, God knows why.
God knows why.
Glove smacking. I mean, here, let me just put another selfie of myself up on,
I do that a lot.
Yeah, you're
I've
guilty.
I've taken 12 selfies since we started this podcast.
The nose does more of that than you do. Anyway, listen, Drake Maye, stunk, or just fine?
No, I mean, I think you put it well. The ball security stuff was tough, and the first strip sack where he really did, he just hung in the pocket so long, and Will Campbell ended up recovering that down by their own goal line. It's saving points. I mean, that's quite frankly, like that's a huge play in the game. The fact that he was able to fall on it, and it wasn't somebody from Houston picking up and picking it up and
these are
scoring.
fumbles that are
Disastrous,
skirting around point type plays.
Yes. The one that happened in the third quarter, that I want to say it just came. It was like immediate off Will Campbell's side with no help. That one I put less of on Drake Maye, although it's still, you have to be able to sense pressure, but that's blindside, almost immediate pressure, no help on the left side, and maybe that's a reason why Drake Maye should have been aware for it. I'm sure he knew Will Campbell didn't have any help in that particular situation, and so you almost got to be, I hate to say it, but the guy's the number 4 overall pick, but you probably have to be expecting that he's not going to win. He probably wasn't expecting him to get beat that quickly, is my guess.
Well, it's funny because during the game, and I didn't say it was off the record, so I don't care. Former Patriots GM, good friend Scott Pioli texted me and said, look, I was in Baltimore at that time when Jonathan Ogden was a rookie left tackle. Jonathan Ogden would get beat too. Sometimes you need to give those guys a little bit of help.
Right.
Because Scott and I will converse during the game. So, it was a place where maybe help might have been a good idea because rookie is a rookie.
No question. And I'm not saying, I still think he's a good player. I think he's going to be a really good player. That play surprised me, and when we talked about it on postgame, I actually said that was the one. Like, I understood the screens early, I understood the draws, even though they didn't work. Like, I thought that was logical on Josh McDaniel's part. When it's 3rd and 6, and it's still technically a one-score game. It was 21-13 at this time, and you're dropping back to pass. Even if you think the ball's going to be out quickly, leaving Will
got him.
I'm saying Will McDonald. Will Shipley, your running back from Texas.
I'm surprised how quickly I ran out of Wills. Last Will and Testament.
Will from Star Trek Next Generation. Wasn't there was a Will, I believe, on that show.
Mm-hmm. Will and Grace.
Will and Grace, that's a good one. That's one where that's an easy second guess. Why is there nobody on that side of the line to help him out there?
Yeah, well, where there's a will, there's a way.
But I do like this part about Drake Maye's game is that he seems to bounce back. He's got a very short memory for a quarterback. It's remarkable that he can come back and make some of the throws that he made. I thought both touchdown throws were great throws. He made a couple of throws to Kayshon Boutte on the Stephon Diggs touchdown drive that I thought were really good and really well placed. So who knows? You think the elements had anything to do with it?
Might have, but I discount that as being any kind of an excuse.
I agree.
I really do. Because if you think the elements are an excuse, then you should spend 5 to 10 days in a row in July throwing with a wet ball, with a hose on you, just to get used to it, get better at it. I don't care. But
I think it was a factor with some of the inaccurate throws. I think it was a factor on the fumbles.
Yep.
I mean, those are just the big, strong guys punching it out of your hand.
Figure it out. Are you better with gloves or not with gloves? I know it gets slicker with gloves. Anyway, C.J. Stroud looked like he wanted to pull himself, not in the dirty sense. Looked like he wanted to get out of the game. And that's a guy who, top 3 pick, just like Maye, but his errors were compounded. His errors didn't stop from Monday night on through. I wonder how bad he looked at practice this week or if it just went away for practice. But maybe he was thrown. Holy crap. Meanwhile, enough on Maye. I'm going to move on to a guy who I think is emblematic of the Patriots season here as the Patriots are in the AFC Championship game. We will get into that matchup, briefly at the end here. We don't go on and on and on because we do this all over again tomorrow when we get you your Patriots Talk linear product. But here is Stephon Diggs talking about the offense at the end of the game.
That drive in the fourth quarter when they knew we were running the ball and we ate up like 6-7 minutes of the clock, even though they ended it with a kick, that meant a lot. We drove 40 yards and we were running the ball. They knew we were running the ball. It said a lot about our O-line. I know we had some guys banged up or some guys dealing with some stuff, and Rhamondre continues to show up. We got so many guys. I know I talked about 7 guys, 1 bone, but it's way more than that. It's guys that can play at a high level. Shout out to my teammates.
Phil, part of the win featured Rhamondre Stevenson, even though his eyeball hurt because he clearly got poked and he was on the sideline, still comes back, 16 carries, 70 yards, 4.4-yard average, caught 4 balls for negligible yards. But between the 2 games in the playoffs, he's been excellent. This is a guy who many folks never wanted to see on the field again. I didn't feel that way because I thought he was good, but I also thought that he needed a week or 2 off. And then if the Patriots put him back on the field and they fumbled again, it wasn't his fault. It was the coaching staff's fault. Mike Vrabel played it out to a T, and Stevenson did too. And that's why I wanted to talk about his game tonight and the offensive line in front of him to close the game out and have a player that Vrabel showed belief in, and why that's kind of what this team is about.
No question. One of the great coaching decisions he made all year, I think is fair to say.
I was mad.
He has been
I'm not a rooter.
An important part of their team. And listen, you and I were not the only ones saying it, but we were both saying it. He probably needs needs at least a break, if not something more extreme. And so, and what a year he's had off the field. He lost his dad just before the season began, and so he's dealt with all sorts of things on and off. And to have the end of the season and the closing kick that he's had has been really eye-opening, because I thought, the last month of the year, Tom, you could make the case that he was their best offensive player. And that drive that you're talking about, it results in a punt. But in the fourth quarter, just a badass sequence. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're running it. We know we're running it. We know we're running it. Everybody in the stadium knows what we're about to do, and we're still going to do it. Stevenson for 8, Stevenson for 6, Stevenson for 9, Stevenson for 3 and a first down. He finally comes out. Henderson runs for 6 more. They end up converting a 3rd and 7 to Stephon Diggs. You can run more time off the clock now. That was a tough, hard-nosed, would you love to gain even more yardage? But against that defense, that was, at that point in the game, a championship caliber drive. And I thought really exhibited a lot of the qualities that Mike Vrabel wants his teams to have. So it doesn't surprise me that we heard about that drive from Vrabel. We heard about it from Diggs after the game. I'm sure there were others who were commenting on that particular drive, because that's exactly what you want as an offensive lineman. They had the opportunity to do, to shine in that way, and they did. And I thought it was their veteran guys. You highlighted it after the game, but it felt like the right side of the line, Morgan Moses and Mike Owenu, that they seemed to run behind again and again.
I did get the C.J. Stroud transcript, so I'm just going to read you a couple of his answers. Here is, look, it's hard. Everybody could do it differently. But from D'Amico Ryan saying at halftime we have C.J.'s back to some of C.J. Stroud's commentary, and the media is just different in different markets. And I think the players themselves sometimes, less to do with the media, but the questions are very kid glovey. Question that was posed is, I know you heard this before, but you had such a dominant first year. Do you think it's unfair that people continue to, and then it says indiscernible, but he said, no, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I know that I'm still getting better, and I still got a lot of things to figure out. Year 3 for me. It'll be year 4 next year, and I'm still learning every day. Had a new system this year, and new guys, and it's something I'm still getting adjusted to. It's no excuse. I just got to learn from that. He does not self-flagellate in the way that you would hope if you just sat in the snow and watched that Houston team play. An answer about ball security, he says, I think just trying to make plays, trying to push the ball down the field and put our team in position to score. My intent is never to turn it over. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way, and that happened today. I take full responsibility. Something I'm going to learn from. It's just ball security is everything, especially the way our defense is played. I'm going to continue to get better in that area. Not happy with myself when it comes to that. I just words. And I'm not, I hate to be mean. He seems like a really good guy. People have spoken about what a nice guy he is. He's got a strong faith. He doesn't seem like he's some, a dink. I'm sure he feels awful. It's not going to be a nice ride home. He's not going to talk to people on the plane.
You don't think not a single person?
But shit like that has to be unacceptable stomach turning, I think. I don't know. It probably is. I don't know.
He's going to get hammered in Houston. He's eligible for an extension for the first time this year, Tom. My prediction is he will not get one. And Nick Caserio, from what we know of the guy, I don't think he's going to feel pressure to give a bad contract to a player who's gotten worse at the most important position in the sport every year, 3 years in the league. And I know he's dealt with some changes, coaching staff-wise, personnel-wise. Those are the facts of the matter. And they can still hope that he's the franchise guy, but you got to have your eye out for the next one just in case he's not, because he has not shown that he is to this point.
I guess, and I am not a ventriloquist, but I would say I'm sick to my stomach that I didn't give us a chance to win. I actively ruined our chance of winning a playoff game on the road when we have a defense that is championship level. And I walked out there and I absolutely lopped the legs. You know how I have a tough time with the L's.
Yeah.
Off of our chances. I eviscerated us.
You want the Josh Allen post-game press conference. In tears.
No tears.
I lost it for us. Listen, beggars can't be choosers. You would
All right,
prefer the Josh Allen press conference.
I would rather C.J. Stroud be in tears, self-flagellating, than saying, and those guys know that. We can't do that. Those guys know that. It's Tom Giles when he imitates a hockey coach.
It's the worst impression of an impression I've ever heard.
Whatever.
It's so bad.
All right. 2 last items. 1, maybe the Patriots have been slow to get credit for the season they had. As I pointed out, they're now 16-3. Include the preseason, they're 18-4. But first it was the schedule. And then it was going to be Justin Herbert. Couldn't get any protection, and the Chargers stink. And now it's going to be Nico Collins, no Trent Brown, and C.J. Stroud was stinking out loud. And next week it's going to be Jarrett Stidham. And if the Patriots end up in Santa Clara, they're not going to get the love that people want, maybe around here. So I'm just saying, don't hold your breath. Do not hold your breath. Do not make the amount of genuflection given to your team the measure of enjoyment that you derive. And I was here covering this team, and I grew up rooting for this team, and I don't root when I cover, but I do have a pulling interest eventually. You can feel it inside you. I would get indignant in 01, 03, 04 when I was covering the team, and I thought they were being slighted. But I just I get what people are saying, but you just try and enjoy your experience without getting the greatest team I've ever seen type stuff with no caveats.
I think that's a good way of putting it. I do think they are going to get more credit than they've gotten.
Good for them.
I do. I do think national people in particular looked at that Texans defense and said, I don't know how they're going to beat them. And they look at C.J. Stroud and they still think he's got, shades of C.J. Stroud from 2 years ago. And maybe they don't give the Nico Collins loss enough credit. But I think they'll start to get a little bit more. Once you get to the AFC Championship game, I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive. I guess the conversation will be centered more around C.J. Stroud and his failures rather than the Patriots' ability to coax those failures out of him. Is that how you see it going too? I think the conversation will be more around how they choked it away. They got a championship-level defensive performance, which they did, and they couldn't put together even a semblance of a competent offensive performance because the quarterback didn't let him.
And he was under siege, and I don't.
But
think
he was again. That's what I
don't
say.
I don't think Nick Caley helped him a ton.
I have a little bit of a hard time with that just because personnel-wise, they're pretty deficient. You're down your number one receiver.
But you can't
You're down your starting right tackle.
So run it. I mean,
They could, Tom. They ran. I
know,
think they
you're
ran
right.
12
They
times
ran-
for 8
you're
yards
right,
in the
you're
first
right.
half. They
They
couldn't run. They couldn't do anything.
I knew it when I said it.
So like they
did run it. It
tried
didn't work.
moving pocket plays. They tried play action. They tried to run. They tried quick. Like even some of this has got to be somewhere in the back of CJ Stroud's mind, and maybe it's the reason you didn't get the self-flagellation at the podium, Tom. How many passes glanced off Texans receivers' hands today?
Yep.
One of them resulted
They
in
did.
a pick. I think the first drive they had, there were maybe 2. One was, I think, a horrible pass by C.J. Stroud, but I think they had 2 different incompletions that both, where the football found its way to contacting the receiver's hand. So, they were just putrid on that side of the ball, and it starts with the quarterback, and that's probably where the conversation will start too. But it shouldn't be lost that the Patriots defense performed really well.
Yep.
And maybe they'll get some motivation from whatever the chatter is this week. If everybody's talking about how C.J. Stroud screwed it up and not how the Patriots forced him into screwing it up, maybe they'll be more motivated, going into Denver next Sunday.
They say don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Do you know what that means, Phil, by the way?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Yeah, you don't want to be checking the horse that you were gifted for a disease.
Yeah, you don't want to check the gums. You just
Right.
take the horse, and if it's disease, you
take
throw
it.
it.
Right.
So don't look a gift horse in the mouth. The Patriots get this schedule this year. They took advantage of it. They get C.J. Stroud with no Nico Collins and no Trent Brown coming off a game where already, his fragile eggshell mind had already broken last week, and they kept the pressure up. They did not look the gift horse in the mouth. They brought it home and cooked it. D'Amico Ryans, meanwhile.
It's good eating.
It's good eating, horse. Good eating. Oh, horse. It's what's for dinner. You should hear D'Amico Ryans. Again, these coaches have a tough job, and I don't know if I'd be a very motivating guy. I'm sure I wouldn't. What's your source of faith in CJ? I know you have a deep faith in him. What's the source of your faith? I believe CJ's done a lot of great things throughout this entire year. I know CJ. I know what it means to him. I don't know. If anybody, CJ feels bad, basically. Think about the man. It's not about the player. Of course, not what we would have hoped for. Not what we would thought would happen. I still stand by the young man. I think that's all great. I think all of that's great. But if you're running a business and your employee cannot execute in the most critical times, I'm not saying this is forever, but if you're a team, you got to be a harder judge, I think, sometimes when a guy throws up all over himself. All right. Last item. Speaking about throwing up all over himself, the sneaky worst play call of the weekend was 1st and 10 at the Buffalo 36. Time running down in overtime, and Sean Payton deciding to run Bo Nix to the left. His whole season was in a box to the left. Is that a song?
Wow. Is that Beyonce?
Yeah.
Nice. That was great.
Thanks.
Oh, that sounded really good.
So Bo Nix runs to the left, gets taken down, breaks his ankle, and now they get Jarrett Stidham in front of him. Jarrett Stidham, he can throw the football now. I went through the numbers on Post Game Live. Basically, he's been out there 4 times in the last 3 years. Every time he goes out there, he goes about 20 for 34 for 265 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. So he's not a stiff.
Right.
But he might be easily rattled as well. But he can throw it. He probably has a better arm than C.J. Stroud. He's not probably as strong as C.J. Stroud. But he's not a journeyman backup who you're going to bring in and say, this guy has no shot. I mean, he could get hot. He can Anthony Simons you. You never know.
Jarrett Stidham or Gardner Minshew?
It's a really good ask.
I know you love Gardner Minshew.
I would say Gardner
Yeah,
Minshew
you
because
would.
he brings you that chaos.
Jarrett Stidham or Davis Mills, who went
I would say
3-1
Davis
as
Mills.
a starter this year.
Davis
Yeah.
Mills, I saw Davis Mills chewing on the Patriots in 2019.
So Jarrett Stidham is probably between the, I don't know. We'd have to really go through the list, but is he between the 6th and 12th best backup in the league?
Yeah, he would have my interest on a regular season game. If he came into a regular season game as the backup, I'd say, I'll watch a couple of series from him. Ooh, he's got an arm, huh? Who did the Patriots play against a couple weeks ago as a backup quarterback towards the end of the year?
Joe Flacco?
No.
Oh, Quinn Ewers. Is he better than Quinn Ewers?
Same general. I'm going to put him in the same category as Quinn Ewers. But
But
that's a fair comp.
It might be a fair comp. We haven't seen Jarrett Stidham. That's what makes it tough. Jacoby Brissett or Jarrett Stidham?
I would probably say Jacoby because of the game management. You know that he'll just stand there with the piranhas and the sharks chewing his entire torso and just hold the ball up and then tuck it.
Jameis Winston or Jarrett Stidham?
Jameis Winston.
You got to go Jameis. I 6 might be generous.
I'm not trying to be
No, I'm just saying he might be the
but of the ilk
40th.
Let's say for the 27 and under crowd, 27-year-old quarterbacks and under who are not starters.
Okay.
Might have the best arm in that group.
Fair enough.
Don't know what you're going to get now.
It's
I'm going to use another golf reference.
Okay.
Okay. He's the guy that you want in your scramble. If you have a good player in the group, you don't want him hitting last and saying, but he can if he turns on it, if he hits it straight now,
he might hit 1 or 2 good shots every 5 holes.
If he hits it straight now,
yeah.
You
Am I
better
that
have
guy?
Yes.
I might be that guy in your
I've
scramble.
played golf with Phil. Phil hits absolute skyscraper moonball drives over the right field boxes unless he squares everything up. Because Phil has a reverse pivot. And for those of you who like golf, you know a reverse pivot means your head goes toward the pin when you bring the club back. And then when you bring it back through, your head goes away from the pin. So
I've never heard that before, but that's exactly what I do. I can feel that right now. I'm just kind of
you want to turn. You
looking
don't
out
want
of my left eye at that ball.
Yeah, that's fine, just as long as you're turning away from it. Anyway, we had a great pod. We're going to talk to you again tomorrow. We'll have some more intel on everything. And if we don't, we'll talk anyway.